also openly.
No, it is not politicized. For example, look. I am a leader of the CPI since my student days. But when I was selected as a professor in the University of Delhi, I have faced the selection test. I have faced the selection committee. I have done my research. I have cleared all the tests. I became a topper. So these are the philosophies.
Okay.
That does not mean. So you cannot compel the government of Kerala or Tamil Nadu or anything. As far as Harijan word is concerned, you see in which century or which year Gandhiji used the term of Harijan and what now we do say.
Sure.
So there is a difference.
I appreciate the sensitivity of the matter. I'm only trying to make the point that it's not illegal or criminal in this country to use that word. Mr. Narayan Tirupati, I'm coming back to you. It's a fair point which is being raised by Mr. Varshney that the appointment of governors is done by the union government. It's a political appointment. Most of them are politicians which have held positions within the party sometimes. Most of the times, I would rather say. Why is it that only the opposition rule states are having a problem if the centre is not interfering? That's what the opposition parties are asking you, sir.
Fine. See, if that is the case, whether Ms. Tamilisai Soundararajan, she was my president, before 3 years, she was my president of Bharatiya Janata Party. So if you say that that because of that it is a political appointment, as rightly said by my another colleague, Draupadi Murmu, you mentioned, she was also one of my leaders, and Mr. Ramnath Govind also, he was a president. So we should not see political, we should not give political color to this. We expect all these governors to do their duty because they are appointed by the President of India.
We expect the Chief Minister of the state to do their duties as per the aspirations and the wishes of the people of the state.
Let me finish, sir. They will do their duty as per the Constitution of India.
So they are also a Chief Minister under the Constitution of India, elected Chief Minister of the Constitution of India. Governor is not the elected Chief Minister of the country, of the state. He is a nominated member. He has been appointed by the government.
Professor Varshney, let him respond.
Yeah, they have not violated anything. See,
they have
when other states are very peaceful, why the opposition ruled states, you have a problem with the governor?
Mr. Tirupati, now there is an opinion throughout the country that these type of governor, the post of the governor must be abolished. It was
all right, Professor
either
Varshney.
in jail or in bail. You need to understand this. In the last 30 years.
Mr. Tirupati, here's a pointed question. See, I get the point that the governor's office is a very coveted position. But even legally, in various judgments of the Supreme Court, it has been accepted that at many occasions, there is a role which has been played by the governor, which is not really constitutional in nature, but political in nature. And we have to accept the reality. In fact, BJP, when the Congress party at the centre had opposed multiple times the kind of role that the governors were playing in multiple opposition rule states in the country. So that history can also not be denied. The argument that the opposition parties are making it that the governor is acting at the behest of the central government to create problems in these states. That's what their argument is.
Let me speak. Let no one interfere in this.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
There are two things here. Number one, the appointment of vice chancellors. I will tell you, in the last 20-30 years, at least most of the vice chancellors appointed by the old system through the government or by the pressure of the government, most of the vice chancellors are either in jail or in bail in Tamil Nadu, the universities. Then came our Banwarilal Purohit, and he has made everything right. That is the reason they are not able to appoint their own people into as the vice chancellor.
Mr. Tirupati, you've made your point. I'm very short of time. I want to give last 30 seconds to Dr. Veeraswamy as well. Dr. Veeraswamy, the argument is that a lot of decisions which are being taken by the state government are only happening because of not happening with the due process of law. They're happening because of political compulsions. And I might add there that just because you ideologically disagree with the governor or the ideology that he comes from, that doesn't make him or his job unconstitutional.
See, we are not saying that it is unconstitutional. It is only unconstitutional to be abusing the power that you are holding. So when you make derogatory statements about, and also you were saying that it is illegal, I would like to tell you that a bench of Justices R.K. Agarwal and Ashok Bhushan, in a case, they have made an observation saying the use of the word Harijan, Dhoti, etc. is
calling Dalit is also unconstitutional, sir.
As words of insult. Sir, I did not interrupt you when you were speaking.
Please, Dr. Veeraswamy, go ahead. We have very little time. Dr. Veeraswamy, go ahead. Dr. Veeraswamy, go ahead.
So it was an observation made by the Supreme Court, where a bench of 2 judges, they have made this observation saying that these words are used to insult, abuse, and with derision.
The tone and tenor with
treat
which a word is
people
said,
of
the
the
kind of
broadcast.
context
So
in
that
which
is
a
one.
word is
And also,
used is very, very important. I've absolutely run out of time. Dr. Veeraswamy, Narayan Tirupati, Subhasha, Professor Dinesh Vashne. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. Clearly, the office of the governor has been in much controversy, not just right now, but since many, many decades, and perhaps it does require a fresh relook in many ways, especially the relationship between the Chief Minister's office and the governor's office. With that, it's a wrap. Shivani joins you on the other side.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Shivani Gupta, joining you from Australia for our special World Cup show. And what a turnaround it's been. What a miracle it's been for Pakistan, from nearly out after losing their first two matches of this World Cup to now in the final. It really has been a complete turnaround for them, and they're truly living on a prayer. We're going to get you all the action and the analysis from the first semi-final that was played in Sydney between New Zealand and Pakistan. Pakistan coming out on tops. Later in the show, of course, we'll also build up to India's semi-final against England, which is being played in Adelaide, where I'm joining you from. Let me also go across and introduce our guests joining us, former India cricketers Maninder Singh, Deep Das Gupta joining us on the show, and also cricket writer and sports commentator Ayaz Memon. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for being with us. Let's begin with the result of the first semi-final, and it was really a clinical performance from Pakistan, the best that they have done so far in the World Cup, and possibly the worst that New Zealand has done, especially in the field, all through this World Cup campaign. Just goes on to show how in the knockouts the fortunes can just completely change and swing around. So let's talk about the fact that New Zealand put up only 152 to chase for Pakistan, and out of form, miserably out of runs. Babar Azam, the Pakistani captain, was dropped on his first ball, and he made the Kiwis pay because he went on to score a 100-run partnership with Mohammad Rizwan, who also completed a well-deserved 50. Now, both of them did fall at some precarious position for Pakistan. But then, of course, Mohammad Haris came out to bat, and he has been such a revelation for Pakistan in this World Cup. He more or less saw them through. There were a couple of hiccups for Pakistan towards the end of their innings, but really there was never a scoreboard pressure, there was never a run rate pressure on them, and with the start that Babar and Rizwan gave to them, it was never going to be a crisis for them, even though they lost a couple of late wickets. Earlier in the day, New Zealand won the toss, decided to bat first, but they lost their openers early for just 28. Kane Williamson anchored at one end and rebuilt the innings. Along with Daryl Mitchell, they added 68 for the fourth wicket, took the score to 117 before Shaheen Afridi sent Williamson packing with just 4 runs short of his half-century. Neesham and Mitchell added a quick-fire 35 from 22 at the end, took their score to 152. Remember, Shaheen Afridi has been the star for the Pakistani side, and he's really improving with every match that we're seeing. So with that, let me go across to the guests who are joining us. This is just turning out to be miraculous for Pakistan. How fortunes completely changed. But fielding, we expected Pakistan to suffer on that, but it was really the Kiwis.
Absolutely. And as you rightly mentioned, 3 drop catches, maybe difficult ones, especially the Ish Sodhi one was a little difficult and way too late in the game as well. But the first one, yes, Conway, that was difficult as well. I can imagine as a keeper, going the other way and getting the outside edge, and then you have to move the other way. But having said that, yes, and also fielding from Pakistan, I think they were brilliant. Also the fact that, someone like Babar got his men in the right positions. For example, Shadab generally fields in that backward point region. But today, in the first 6 overs, he was at mid-on, realizing that, this is a slowish pitch. You need your best fielders in front of the wicket, not behind the wicket. And that run out, that was for me a major point in that game. Conway last over of the power play, last ball of the power play actually, and Shadab getting him run out. So yes, fielding was the differentiator to a great extent, and in fact it went Pakistan's way.
Yes. But, you know, as I mentioned, Babar Azam was woefully out of form, out of touch, had not even, made 40 runs in total out of his 5 innings before this match. And we were talking about him earlier, Manipaji, and, you know, he has obviously made use of the second chance and the second life that his team has got. And today he looked great.
Between the two teams, you know, Pakistan was the team that looked like they've come on the field to basically win. They were charged up from ball one. You know, as we've been talking about their fielding was electric. And, you know, sometimes what happens when you know that the luck is going your way, then you start putting in more effort. You know, I'm not taking anything away from the way they played their game, but, you know, sometimes as a cricketer, when we used to think that, you know, luck is going my way, the confidence level used to go high. For the Kiwis, I think if you're going to drop chances like that, like they gave that first ball chance to Babar Azam, he's going to take advantage of that because he's a good player and I think he's come to form at the right time. So all in all, I think it was Pakistan's day. Pakistan's attitude was brilliant and they were very, very positive on the field. And, you know, what better than getting your captain in form in the semi-final and taking your team to the final. So I think he's come to form at the right time. So another plus for the Pakistan team going into the final.
Yeah, and just talking about the bad fielding, I think what also didn't work for the Kiwis was Conway behind the wickets. I mean, let's just face it, he didn't have a very good match. And in a semi-final, in the knockout stage of a World Cup, you can't afford, you know, such mistakes behind the wicket. Deep.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yes. But, you know, Devon Conway has been their wicket keeper, at least in T20Is for a while now. But things like that can happen. I mean, you can have drop catches and everything else. Unfortunately, it happened at such a big stage and a crucial moment. And that to Babar. And obviously, I think a lot of it, I mean, as Manibhaiya mentioned about, you know, you're not supposed to be here, but you're here. So might as well just you know, have the most fun you can. That's how it seemed like for Pakistan, because they were like we've been talking about, they weren't supposed to be here. Obviously, South Africa did them a huge favor, or Netherlands, or call it whatever. But having said that, also the fact that I think the inclusion of Mohammad Haris has also kind of helped them. You know, the kind of form that Mohammad Haris is in the last, including this one, last 3 games. I think that has given the top two, as in Rizwan and Babar, a little more confidence in batting a little more freely. And you know, kind of expressing themselves. And also a score of 150 is right up their alley. You know, if it had been 165, 170, where they had to take a few more chances and they were kind of under pressure as far as the scoreboard is concerned. But yeah, I mean, the first 6 overs, they got 55 runs. So the game, obviously, it was always going to get difficult when the ball was getting older. But the game was, to a great extent, won in the first 6 overs itself, 55 without loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask our guests about Mohammad Haris because, you know, what a great find and revelation he's turning out to be. And I think but for his performances in the last 3 matches, in fact, in the matches coming up to the semi-final, even if you forget today because the stage was virtually set by the opening batsman. By the way, you know, Rizwan and Babar weren't really clicking together so far, but together they've now made 300-run stands in T20I, and I think they've become the first and only pair to do so. So that just goes on to show why we were talking about Rizwan and Babar so much and why the team is so dependent on them, because when they do well, suddenly the Pakistani batting lineup looks completely different. But coming back to Mohammad Haris, Manipaji, he's a great talent. He's just so good to watch and so fearless.
And very positive. You know, his approach is very positive. It's like Surya Kumar Yadav when he comes onto the field, when he comes to bat, or Virat Kohli when they come onto bat. I'm not comparing anybody with anybody, but they bring positivity. They're looking for runs all the time, and that is what Haris does. He's looking for runs all the time, and, you know, sometimes players like that give energy to the team. And I think since the time he's come into the team, that has happened to this Pakistan side. You know, they've started, you know, they look a lot more energetic on the field. There's a lot more positivity in the side. And that is helping this Pakistan side. And, you know, as you said, if the top 2 start scoring runs for them, then they look completely different side, altogether a different side. And that is a big plus for the Pakistan side, that both their openers have got runs in the semi-finals. They are going to go into the finals with a lot of confidence. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be India or England. I think Pakistan is on a high at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some of the momentum that they were carrying, winning their last 3 matches, I think they were the only team to do so. The other teams had won their last 2 and coming into the semi-final. They were the only one with 3 wins back to back after losing their first 2, coming into the semi-finals. And I think they had a little bit of that momentum and belief. They surely have some of the biggest star power you can ask for in the dressing room or in the dugout. They've got the likes of Matthew Hayden, Saklan Mushtaq, and then they've got Mohammad Yusuf, and just the list is endless. So clearly, the turnaround that has come for them, that's instilled a lot of belief in them. And since we're talking about the turnaround for them, a lot of people are actually also comparing this to the 1992 World Cup win under Imran Khan that also came here in in Australia. But I want to run for our viewers of what the Pakistani team have done in the T20 World Cup. We will all remember, of course, in the inaugural edition, Pakistan lost that superb final against India, last ball thriller. But then in 2009, they beat Sri Lanka in the final to win the trophy. So they're also waiting for the T20 trophy after being previous champions for over a decade. Quite like India after winning the 2007 title, we haven't won at the World T20 stage again. Similarly, for Pakistan also, it's been a very long wait. They haven't won the 50-over World Cup either in this period. So this is a spectacular chance. Let me go across to Ayaz Memon, who's joining us back. Ayaz, parallels to 1992 and a great chance to get a hand on the ICC trophy again.
Absolutely, Shivani. Very strong parallels to 1992. I was there in Australia when Pakistan won that tournament against all odds, coming back from the dead. And this is pretty much what's happened here.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a very compressed format. It's only 20 overs. That was a little more, in those days, far more challenging. 50 over matches. But the situation and the recovery is just so eerily similar. But we'll have to wait and see how they take it from here, he said, and Manipa. And I think somewhere the Kiwis seem to have some apprehension about the pitch and the condition. I think that they're batting, they probably should have set a target of 175, 180. I think they settled for about 160. And that's where they started faltering. Of course, you can't take anything away from the Pakistan bowlers. You have Shaheen Shah Afridi striking in the first couple of overs, and you're always on the back foot. And that's where I think the difference came in, which is the really classy bowling by the Pakistani pacemen, but supported by brilliant fielding. I have not seen a Pakistani side field like this, perhaps ever. And I think this is something that should be creating some, provoking some thought in the Indian dugout. You're going to face a Pakistan team which you can't say traditionally, so fielding mein halke hai, we can always steal a few runs here and there. That's not going to be possible.
Yeah. No, we discussed their fielding, and of course, the fact that you mentioned Shaheen also, what a great weapon he is for the Pakistani team, because he manages to take wickets in his opening over. That is something that the Pakistani side has come to depend on, and that is such a great start that you can get after being put into bowl as well, Manipaji. I think he has taken his time to get into his rhythm. I don't think he's still at a tearing pace that we know of Shaheen to be, but when it comes to his wicket-taking ability, he's just absolutely amazing.
See, coming back for any cricketer is not very easy. The greatest of cricketers also needed some time to get into a rhythm when they've made a comeback after an injury, especially after an injury. So for a fast bowler, it becomes all the more difficult. And I think he's getting into that rhythm. We saw it in the previous game. He got 4 wickets. And, as you talked about, he's got this knack of getting a wicket in the first over. I honestly don't remember any game in white ball cricket that I've seen where he's bowled and he's got a wicket in the first over and Pakistan losing that game. I think if you take out the records, it will be about 90 odd % that whenever he's got a wicket in the first over in white ball cricket, Pakistan have they've gone on to win the game. I think he's a very important weapon, and once he's in that rhythm, I think it must be giving a lot of confidence to the other Pakistani bowlers as well, and that is exactly what they did in this game. I mean, he got a wicket in the first over, and you saw all the bowlers coming and contributing.
Yeah, well, you just need a few things to go your way, and suddenly the entire energy around the team can change. And that's exactly what has happened for Pakistan. So one end of the quote-unquote dream final is already certain. Pakistan is in the final. Now everybody is waiting for India to get through, and that's what the universe is asking for, I think. Certainly what the Indian and the Pakistani fans are asking for. So speaking of that, let's shift our attention to the big match that we'll be previewing here in Adelaide. And that's, of course, India versus England. This is possibly going to be a cracker as well, a little bit more possibly competitive than what we've seen in this match. It was a little underwhelming by from New Zealand against Pakistan. But this match is going to be a cracker. Here's a preview for it. We'll also listen in from both the captains on the stage, and the fact that for England, after the disappointment in 2015 in Australia, where they didn't even make it to the knockouts, and then started the turnaround for them in white ball cricket, to the Indian side, where Rohit Sharma talks about the wait for the ICC trophy. So the preview, and then let's also listen in from both the captains.
It's going to be a blockbuster semi-final clash with the informed men in blue taking on England, which is high on confidence at the Adelaide Oval. It's a do-or-die battle, with the winner heading to MCG on Sunday night for the final, while the loser will head home after the Super 12 stage of the tournament. India finished at the top of Group 2, while England were runners-up of Group 1. Talking of India, the men in blue ended as table toppers with 8 points and 4 wins to their name. The Rohit Sharma-led team looks settled with firepower from KL Rahul at the top. Virat Kohli is in the form of his life and is the highest run getter in the World Cup. Surya Kumar Yadav is right behind Kohli with 225 runs in this World Cup and 3 half-centuries to his name. Down the order, Hardik Pandya and Akshar Patel are dangerous customers with a bat against any side. On the bowling front, all eyes will be on Arshdeep, and he will be expected to get India early wickets. With the experience of Shami, Pandya and Ashwin in the mix, India looks like an unbeatable team. However, there are some small areas of concern, with Rohit playing only one good knock this World Cup, and that too against the Netherlands. The debate over wicketkeeper batsman position continues to rage after Pant failed to deliver in the match against Zimbabwe. India will face England, who finished as a second spot with 7 points in 5 matches with 3 wins. The Butler-led team endured a shaky start, including a shock defeat to Ireland, but recovered to beat New Zealand and Sri Lanka to clinch a place in the last 4. England are battling injuries, with David Malan still under doubt because of a groin injury, while fast bowler Wood also took limited part in training after reporting body stiffness. Even India had injury concerns, with skipper Rohit Sharma being hit on the forearm, but then to the relief of the team management, he came back and resumed practice. Adelaide has been a happy hunting ground for India this World T20 when they defeated Bangladesh in a rain-hit match. India has not won any ICC event since their win in the 2013 Champions Trophy. Since then, India have reached the finals of T20 World Cups in 2016 and semi-final in 2014, but have faced heartbreaks. It's time for men in blue to win the cup and answer a billion prayers.
This is the moment for Rohit Sharma and his men to come good on wanting to win an ICC title that they have been talking about for quite some time. Remember, it's been nearly 10 years since 2013 that India hasn't won an ICC title. They've been in multiple semi-finals and even a final when it comes to ICC tournaments, World Cups, splitting over T20 and 50 over cricket. But when in the knockout stages, since the 2013 Champions Trophy, they haven't really been on the money. And this knockout phase, they'll have to play better than what we've witnessed so far, especially against teams like England coming up, to be able to lift that trophy one more time. With camera person Guneet in Adelaide, Shivani Gupta, CNN News 18.
Absolutely, it's an opportunity for us to come and do that, but we do understand it's been a long process for us, and we will stick to our process. I think it's important not to get ahead of ourselves, and we do understand as well that we have to play good cricket to win that game, which I think we've done in this tournament. We just need to stick to it. I know we're a long way away from it, but I think it's important to just understand that it's a contest between bat and ball, which we have to come on top with, and and stick to and trust what you've been doing so far.
It's been clear to see the change in sort of mindset in English cricket and towards the white ball game since that way, and especially the way we've played. And I think as you mentioned, the way we've played, given us better results. So that gives us a lot of trust in that process that it works. And I think, even going back to the Pakistan tour, some younger guys coming into the group, it seems an ingrained way of playing now in English cricket. So it's been a fantastic journey to be involved in. Going back to that point, as you said, it was a real line in the sand, I would say, that moment in English white ball cricket. And, I think we all want to win things and we all want to... certainly don't want to be a team that just says we played a great style of cricket. You want to have tangible things that you have achieved throughout that as well. So getting to semi-finals and finals, the big prize is obviously standing on that, there with the trophy at the end of the game, and that's what we all want to achieve. But we know that the way we play is going to give us the best chance of doing that.
Well, that's Jos Buttler. He was talking about 2015 when they were knocked out before the knockouts in Australia, in the World Cup in Australia. But Jos Buttler in his press conference also talked about how everybody wants an India-Pakistan final. So what does he think about that? And he made it categorically clear that we have no plans of an India-Pakistan final happening, even if a lot of people want it. And of course, as the man who wants his team to get into the final, he will say that. But if England hasn't looked quite as good as we were expecting them, to India also having some issues with their balance, with their performance at the top especially. Ayaz, do you think both of these teams are evenly balanced as we get into the semi-final?
I think once you take the field, I think the biggest factor in this match will be the pressure on both the teams. And the pressure will be, I think, perhaps a little more on India, given the expectations of so many more people. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be far reduced on England. I think that both teams have been a little short. England perhaps more so of all-round performance in this tournament. I think India have come.
Yeah.
The way India have won, last ball finishes under acute pressure, defending modest totals, was very, very impressive. Yes, we can say that Rohit hasn't had a big score under his belt. So is that looking a little wobbly in the top order? Maybe, maybe not, because you've got Surya Prakash Yadav, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul in fabulous form. Hardik Pandya has also looked in very good touch. The other issue, there are two actually. Rishabh Pant or DK has been a dilemma from day one since the tournament started, and it continues as we head into the semi-final. And the other is, which spinner do you take? I mean, Yuzvendra Chahal or Akshar or Ashwin. I think that seems to be more or less settled. I think they're not, looking very keenly at Yuzvendra Chahal right now. But the DK Pant issue may still be, bothering Rohit and Dravid as they sleep tonight and in preparation for tomorrow's, massive game.
Yeah, no, I did ask Rohit Sharma that question. Trust me, I'm going to ask that question to him when I get an opportunity, because this is something that we've been debating on our shows quite a bit as well. And Pant made an entry into the playing 11 for the first time in the last group game. So I'm going to bring you that in just a bit. But I do want Deep's thoughts on the problem areas for India. And that one problem area, Deep, interestingly, is, of course, how India have been amongst the slowest starters in this tournament. They have scored a 5.96 runs and over in the power play, and that's been the worst of most of the teams. So, that because of the fact that either at one time KL Rahul wasn't working or Rohit Sharma is not in full flow, that is the biggest problem area for us, do you think?
Yes and no, because I don't think the difference, I don't know exact numbers, I don't think the difference would be too much between the teams. Obviously, India going less than 6 and over, less than run a ball. But that's been the template so far in this tournament, isn't it? I mean, you watch out the first 6-7 overs because the ball's doing a bit, and then the second half of the innings is where you capitalize on it. So I won't be too bothered about that particular number, but the fact that you have kind of lost more often than not at least a wicket or two every power play, I think that is an area of concern. Whether it's Rohit, whether it's KL, that is, or both of them, in fact. So that's an area of concern where you don't mind getting a comparatively slowish start, but then if you lose early wickets, like two of them in your first 6, then it puts added pressure on your middle order, which is firing, which is great. But then you don't want them to kind of get out there with two early wickets gone. So Ideally speaking, I'm not too concerned about that run rate so much, but yes, losing early wickets, I am.
Yeah, and there is an other side to the statistics that I talked about, because actually if they've been one of the slowest starters in the starting power play, they've actually been the ones to score at the fastest rate in the final 4 overs. And that figure stands at nearly 12 runs per over. So while India has suffered at the start, whether it's wickets or being slow, they have actually managed, because of performances by the likes of Virat Kohli, Surya Kumar Yadav and even Hardik Pandya, they've managed to pick up towards the end, and they've covered that gap that has been witnessed for them. So Maninder Paji, do you think that in its, what do you think, let me just ask you an open question, what do you think is the biggest issue for the Indian team going into this match? If it's Pant versus DK, then just hold your horses, because I'm going to play out what Rohit Sharma has said.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for India is actually losing those couple of wickets in the first 6 overs. They've got to be very careful, because Rohit Sharma has to realize that these are not the pitches that you come here, scoring runs from the word go, because, there is something for the bowlers. So you've got to give that respect to the bowlers. And, Deep said right that we shouldn't be really bothered about that India has not scored run a ball in the first 6 overs. We should be really bothered about not losing a wicket, because can you imagine Rohit Sharma, if he stays there till the 15th, 16th over, probably he could get 100 of his own.
Yeah.
And, that concern that we are talking about,
Yes.
that won't be there anymore, because he can score runs quickly. Once he stays at the wicket, once he's gauged the bounce and the pace of the surface, I think he's somebody who can score runs quickly, because once he puts his foot on the accelerator, then there's no stopping him. And what happens? The bowlers also go on the back foot, because they know what Rohit Sharma can do. And then because he's a kind of a batsman who can score runs of good deliveries. But when Rohit Sharma is there till the 15th, 16th over, then, as I said, that the bowlers are on the back foot, they start giving loose deliveries where he can score runs easily. So Rohit Sharma has to think that he can't score runs from the word go, but if he stays at the wicket for a longer period of time, it's going to be advantage India.
Can I quickly add?
Yeah, one knack that Rohit Sharma has. Yes, come in.
Yeah, so quickly want to also add the fact that, how many times have Rohit got out to the short delivery, whether it's playing the cut or pull? That's something that obviously might not be such a big factor playing in Adelaide, because the square boundaries are a lot smaller than the other grounds that India has played on. So the other important thing, I think, is taking on the square boundaries, which obviously is Rohit's go-to shot, and it's so good. He's one of the best in the world, actually, in white ball cricket. But that hasn't helped his cause. If you look at the dismissal, the mode of dismissal with Rohit, more often than not, you'd see him against the short ball, maybe playing the pull more often than not.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned the dimensions of the Adelaide Oval. It's quite a weird, ground, isn't it? Because you mentioned, as you very rightly said, the straighter boundaries are much larger. The squarer boundaries are actually much shorter. And Rohit Sharma was asked about how batsmen adjust, because one ground to another in Australia, the dimensions are very different. And he talked about how, it comes with instinct. A lot of the Indian batsmen are instinctive, but it is hard to adjust. And especially for some of the boys who haven't played in Australia before, it has been a massive adjustment for them to make. And India have played at Adelaide, England haven't. So I think that could possibly also be one of the advantages for the Indian team going ahead. And what we do know that it is going to be a used pitch that will be used in Adelaide. But let me now, without further ado, bring you that question. First of all, I asked to Rohit Sharma on how he's doing, because remember yesterday we talked about how he suffered a hit on his right forearm in the nets yesterday. So he talked about how he's doing, and then the age-old question of Pant versus Dinesh Karthik. Listen in.
I have a two-part question. If first you could tell us how you're doing after the hit at the nets yesterday, and last game you made a change with Pant coming in. Was that a one-off, or will you be sticking to it now?
The first part is obviously, I was hit yesterday, yes, but it seems to be fine now. There was a little bruising, but it's absolutely fine now. Between Pant and DKC, I said it before the last game as well. Rishabh was the only guy who didn't get to play on this tour at all, except the 2 games that we played in Perth. That was our unofficial practice game. But since then, he hasn't had a hit, and he was the only guy who was missing some game time. So we wanted to give him some time and have some options as well, whether if we want to make changes in the semis or the finals, we should be able to do that. And it'll be unfair to just bring the guy from nowhere and make him play the game. So that was the thought. But again, at the same time, we've told the guys right from the beginning that everyone needs to be ready for whichever game that they have to play, whether it's semis, final, league games. They got to be ready for it. But yeah, I mean, it was a little tactical as well, considering we were not knowing which team we will be playing in the semis before that Zimbabwe game. So we wanted to just give a left-hander an opportunity to counter some of the spinners who bowl in the middle for New Zealand and England. That was the thought, and we thought Rishabh was the guy for us to go and give him some time as well. But again, what is going to happen tomorrow, I think I won't be able to tell you right now. But both of the keepers will be in play for sure.
It's time for the semi-finals, and as they say, the tournament starts now. For the Indian team, this is a great opportunity to get one step ahead in winning that ICC trophy that has been eluding them since 2013. And one man who could be crucial in that quest for an ICC title is batting behind me in the nets. That's Virat Kohli in the second number. Before that is also Rishabh Pant. I specifically asked Indian captain Rohit Sharma about the combination of the team, especially given Rishabh Pant came into the side for the first time in the last group game. Well, he of course didn't reveal whether it's going to be DK or Rishabh Pant, but he did mention that it would be unfair to bring in a guy in the later stages immediately without knowing who the semi-finalists were. And India would certainly hope that Virat has a lot left in the tank and replicates the performance he's had so far in this tournament. Now, batting is really where the concern for India is. They've had hiccups versus Pakistan, they've had hiccups versus Bangladesh, and but for that rain interruption, anything could have happened in that match. Should India go back to DK or not is also one of the biggest questions ahead of the semi-final versus England. All right, so you heard from the Indian captain. First of all, he's doing fine, so no real concerns. And even if there is slight bruising, etc., you would expect that Rohit Sharma will see through that. But on the Pant and the DK question, now Rohit, Manipaji did say that he wants to give Pant a chance so that he doesn't come into the semi-finals, without a match under his belt. But would it make sense at this stage to go back to DK, who was really not doing anything to write home about? And should they persist with Pant?
See, first thing is good that Rohit Sharma is fit, but that bruise is there, and sometimes these injuries do help because you start concentrating harder when you're in the middle because you've got that injury, so you're not playing too many shots, especially in the beginning. And when the arm warms up, by that time you've gauged the surface properly, the bounce and the pace of the surface. So that's good news for us. The second thing, I think he was politically correct. He didn't give you anything away when you asked about DK and Pant, but I'm sure it's going to be Pant because he's somebody who's a game changer. He's got the X factor. He should have been playing from the beginning. I've been saying that. Rather, most of us have agreed that it should have been Pant from day one, playing all the games. But the right decision would be to have Pant there because Dinesh Karthik, we've seen, you see his body language in the last couple of games that he played after he didn't get runs in the first game against Pakistan. After that, his body language, his face expression showed that, he had lost confidence. So I would actually, to be very honest, go with Rishabh Pant because, he's a match winner. On the day, he single-handedly can win you games. If somebody who can win you test matches, can you imagine the shorter format? If he gets going, if he faces 20 balls, you would be on your way to win the game. So for me, I think it's going to be Rishabh Pant.
And especially in Australia as well, his record in Australia. But you're absolutely right. I wasn't going to mention it because, sometimes we tend to read too much into body language. But actually, I noticed DK in the practice from the first match of the tournament before, we played Pakistan to now. I think his body language, his face and his overall energy is different in the nets too. he looks worried, DK, I'm talking about. And he would be, of course, because, you know, coming into this World Cup with so much expectations as the finisher and somebody who sees the Indian team through the line and, you know, making his place at the expense of somebody like Rishabh Pant and then not performing, it has upset the Indian team's plans and obviously DK's own expectations as well. But Deep, let me ask you, do you bring in somebody like Rishabh Pant and then make him sit again? Is that something that the Indian team could do? Because I still have a feeling that they do prefer DK over Pant. But do they go back to DK now and just leave Pant hanging after one match?
Yeah, I'm trying to read between the lines here. Okay, so Rohit mentioned they wanted to give Rishabh some game time because they weren't aware which team are they going to play in the semis and the finals. Well, if you look at all the teams that were in contention, they almost have the same kind of bowling, right? So you have a left-arm spinner and you have a wrist spinner, whether it's South Africa, whether it's New Zealand, whether it's Pakistan, or whether it's England. England might have a few more options in Liam Livingstone, who bowls both off spin and wrist spin. So I don't see any difference in terms of bowling attacks of all the oppositions that you could have played or you might play now from here on. So I don't see any changes there. And one thing for sure, having covered last summer cricket here in England and been following England for a while, India-England series and stuff. Listen, they rate Rishabh very, very highly, and I think I wouldn't be exaggerating if I say that they're kind of scared of Rishabh. So every time he goes out to bat, I don't want to name cricketers who've told me that, God, every time he walks out and we're like, what is he going to do now? Right. So there is this fear factor that Rishabh has, and I would love to explore that. I would love to explore it. And now that he's played a game, I wouldn't have said yes to Rishabh if he hadn't. I wouldn't kind of say get Rishabh into a semi-final straight away. Now that he's played a game, I don't. I personally would go with Rishabh.
Yeah, and also I think Rohit Sharma also mentioned the addition that Rishabh also makes Ayaz as a left-handed batsman in the side, the variety that he brings in.
I think that's crucial, Shivani, because if playing against somebody like Adil Rashid, and he's very, he can take heavy toll of leg spinners, we've seen that, or even somebody like a Moeen Ali who spins it the other way around. But he can, in Australian conditions where he's had so much success, his confidence will be high. I was a little intrigued by what Rohit Sharma told you in reply to that question. He said both are ready. I'm assuming that one of them will be called and not both, because both will not be in the playing level.
No. Ayaz, I'm so happy you picked on that. I'm so happy you picked on that, because we were also debating this, me and a few other journalists, because he said, to quote him, I cannot say who, but I can only say that both will be in play. Now, we were wondering whether he's going to pick both wicketkeeper batsmen. That is possible. I mean, it's not out of the, it's out of the ordinary, but not completely impossible. Or did he mean that both are in fray?
Yeah. Well, I can only respond to what I've heard. No, the point I'm trying to make is, are they at this point in time looking at shoring up the batting further? Because I think that would take away a lot from what this Indian team is all about now. The option for the captain to have 6 bowlers to turn to, whichever way he plays around. If you reduce it to 5 bowlers and one bowler has an off day, you're left, wringing your hands. So I don't see that as a wise decision at all. If there's a choice, it has to be made between Rishabh and DK. And, we've all extolled the virtues that Rishabh Pant has, youngster, X factor, Australian conditions, the fear factor in the opponents. Not to take away anything from DK, who's fought very hard to come back into the team, which in itself is a saga to come and play this World Cup. But I think that they have to bite the bullet somewhere, take this call.
Shivani, can I add, please?
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the other important thing, I think also the contribution with the bat from Ashwin, I think must have given them some confidence in terms of, there are enough people, the back end, to contribute with the bat, because Ashwin's been pretty good with the bat as well. So maybe that has also added to this whole idea of getting someone like Rishabh Pant, a left-hander who can also bat at number 4, 5 if required.
Absolutely. Now, we cannot end this edition and this preview to the India-England semi-final without talking about one man. And no, that's not quite Virat Kohli, even though we're playing at the Adelaide Oval, which Virat himself has talked about being his home, and he has a splendid record here. But I'm talking about Surya Kumar Yadav, because frankly, ahead of this game, if there is one man everybody is writing about, everybody is talking about, and everybody is asking questions about, it's actually Surya Kumar Yadav.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably his nature. That's where it comes from. I think he's a very he's a sort of guy who just doesn't carry any baggages with him. Not his suitcases. I mean, he's got a lot of suitcases, honestly speaking. He loves his shopping. But when it comes to carrying that extra pressure, extra baggages, I don't think, he has that in him. And you can see that when he plays. And it's not like he's played a couple of tournaments like that. He's been playing like that for a year now. And it shows, and you can judge the kind of character he is. And he likes to play like that, and I don't know if you've heard him talk in interviews. I mean, he likes to bat in a similar fashion, whether we are 10 for 2 or 100 for 2. He likes to go out and express himself. And that's probably the reason, he was in the team in the last World Cup. Although we didn't have a great World Cup, but I mean, looking at what he's done in the entire year from that World Cup onwards, as we say, sky is the limit for him.
Surya Kumar has obviously, came in and set the world alight. He's a fantastic player and plays some shots where you just sort of scratching your head sometimes. But he's in great form. But about Thursday, hopefully we can try and shut him down and not allow him to get on one of his rampages. It's about assessing and adapting to whatever situation you have in front of you. But obviously we come here to Adelaide, which is a very different dimension ground to the grounds that we're used to playing on. We've been playing on big square boundaries and looking to try and get the batters to hit to them, whereas obviously here we're probably going to have to look to change our tactic.
But I love what Rohit Sharma said about Surya Kumar Yadav, Deep. One, that he has no baggage, and that is why he plays as freely as he does. And he's obviously worked hard on it. He's been performing consistently. Exactly. He doesn't have mental baggage is what he meant, but he has enough otherwise real baggage because he loves his shopping. So I love that about what he said. And I also love what he said about Surya Kumar Yadav not wanting to play in smaller grounds. He likes to play in bigger grounds. No wonder he's loving Australia, because all the grounds here are, so big and so large, because he likes to see the gaps clearly. Yeah. What do you make of that?
I mean, that's a great insight, what he mentioned there, because obviously, Virat's a great example, right? I mean, these guys are not boundary hitters per se or big hitters. They look at gaps. They're good runners. If you look at their style, Surya, Virat, they're very good runners. They pick gaps up. And obviously, if you time well, the grounds aren't big enough. No ground in the world is big enough if you're timing it well enough. So once you start picking gaps, you start getting boundaries as well, and then you're unstoppable. I think Rohit mentioned sky is the limit. I think sky is limitless. I mean, the way he's batting is actually limitless. And the way he's kind of, the freedom with which he bats. Let's understand this. The fact that he's been around for so long, and I think Ayaz mentioned it a couple of days ago, the fact that he's got a body of work behind him. It's not just T20 cricket. He's played, 77 first-class games. He averages around 45 in first-class cricket. So he's got a huge body of work. So he's coming into this Indian side or into this tournament, having achieved a lot.
And the IPL as well.
At every level that he's played.
No, I'm saying that he's also played the IPL, right? That also has given him a lot of ground to perfect his T20 batting, isn't it, Ayaz?
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. I think Shivani I think he's a very clever cricketer. He's a very focused cricketer. He's a very hardworking and a very ambitious cricketer. Now, you can have only so many players in the Test team, perhaps a few more to make up the ODI team. But T20 is opening up avenues and vistas for cricketers who become specialists in the T20 format. And then, in fact, I think he's done so well in the T20 format that he might now be looked at more seriously for ODIs, which he's already playing, and also for red ball cricket, who knows. But the point I'm trying to make is, at 32 or whatever his age, 31, 32, I can't remember any other player since Mike Hussey Mike Hussey is the last guy I remember who came into the Australian team at the international level at the age of around 30 and made a huge success of his career. Otherwise, you find, especially from the Indian subcontinent, players coming in at the age of anywhere between 16 and 22. If you haven't made the cut by then you are considered not good enough, and you're consigned to first class domestic cricket. But here's this guy, and he just remodeled, refashioned. He's created his own grammar for T20 batsmanship, and he's become the focus of the world's attention. The greatest the fans obviously give him adulation, but the respect he's getting from his peers, the peer approval that he's getting is something absolutely fabulous and really highlights. Is so credit worthy for Surya Kumar Yadav for what he's achieved.
Yeah, you mentioned Michael Hussey. He was Mr. Cricket, and I think Surya Kumar Yadav is turning out to be the new Mr. 360. I don't want to take anything away from ABD, but I think he reminds a lot of people of De Villiers. But you know, he's crafting his own, and he's making his own position in such a tough format, especially for the batsman to make a name in. Manipaji, your thoughts on Surya Kumar Yadav?
See, he's very clear in his head. You know, when he comes on to bat, you can see the positivity with the way he bats. You know, when he's moving outside the off stump to play those shots over fine leg or square leg, he's very, very clear in his mind, which is very important, you know, because if you're in two minds, then you're going to edge the ball and, you know, give catches around. But he's, you know, that positivity, that positive footwork, that clarity of mind. And, you know, as Rohit said, that he doesn't take any pressure on himself, which is very important, because if you take that pressure on yourself, then you could be a fraction of a second late where you could make mistakes. So that's very important to be the way he approaches the game in a positive manner. And, you know, I think he enjoys it. He enjoys the game. This can happen because if you've worked hard in the nets, this can happen only then, and he has worked hard. You know, these are not the kind of shots that you come in a match and start playing them around. You have to practice them, and I think he's practiced them a lot, and that is why he's got that confidence that he can do that. He can play them, you know, whatever size of the ground, it doesn't really matter to him. And that's an important part, and he's also somebody who brings that you know, positivity in the side with the way he bats, and gives the team management that confidence. You know, even if you've lost 2 wickets for 10 runs, he'll still come and bat the same way that he does, as Rohit said. And, you know, when you have a player like him coming after a couple of wickets falling at whichever stage and coming and batting the way he bats, I think that gives a lot of confidence to the team management, to the rest of the players as well, and brings that, you know, energy in the side, which is required, especially in T20 cricket.
Right. We have spoken about all the strengths and possibly some concerns for India. And one thing is for certain, that England cannot be taken lightly, even if they haven't really hit their mark. But I did talk to Joss Butler about the momentum, getting momentum under their belt. And Group A teams can be excused if they haven't managed to get momentum under their belt, because virtually all of their virtually for all teams, at least one match was affected by rain, and that would have upset their plans a little bit. So finally, we do have a little bit more on Surya Kumar Yadav and a special chat with fans in Adelaide left. But I want to thank our guests by taking their final views on the big semi-final for India. I asked, why don't you start first? What you're looking out for, and who do you think is ahead in this one?
You know, I think England came into this tournament as the strongest team. We've discussed that, but I think India have really come along very well in this tournament. Yes, we had a mishap or a hiccup against South Africa, but apart from that, I think so many questions answered. KL Rahul, there was such a brouhaha about him not getting runs. He's got runs. Virat Kohli has been, some innings win you a match, some light up a tournament. That was the kind of innings he played against Pakistan. Surya Kumar Yadav has just become the toast of the entire cricketing world for the way he bats. Arshdeep Singh, there are so many pluses. Mohammad Shami drafted in at the last minute. People were unsure whether he'll hold up for such a major assignment. He's held up. Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowling top class stuff. So I think that everything's come along extremely well for India. And I think what's really mattered is that when they've been under pressure, they've shown the gumption and the resourcefulness to fight back very well. In a tough match, you may have lost in the last, against South Africa.
Absolutely.
Last over, last ball defeat there. But the way they defended that score was really credit worthy. So I think India are looking to me ahead in this match. And having said that, don't forget England bat deep, and they've got a couple of maverick cricketers. Liam Livingston is one of them. The biggest threat comes, of course, from Josh Butler at the top, and in my opinion, Mark Wood, if he's fit, and 100% fit tomorrow, who's had a splendid tournament.
Yeah.
So these are 2 or 3 guys that India have to guard against, and well, just keep doing exactly what they've been doing so far.
Right. On Mark Wood and also on David Malan, they didn't quite say whether they were fit or not fit or available or not available. They will, I think, wait as late as they can before deciding tomorrow. Deep, we're almost running out of time. Your prediction for the big semi-final?
Well, I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to say India is looking a lot better than England, a lot more in rhythm, the way they've played right through this tournament, but it's going to be extremely close to call. So I'm going to say 51-49 India.
By the slightest of margin. Manipaji?
I think I'm with Deep. That is what I had in mind. I think it's going to be 51-49 in India's favour because this English team is a big side. They've got the X factors. Even though our side has those X factors, we'll have to wait and see on the day which X factors make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. One of those X factors, of course, possibly not an X factor anymore, but an established factor is Suryakumar Yadav. We had a very special conversation with former domestic cricketer and his mentor, Vinayak Mane. Listen into what he had to say about the courage and the performance that Sky has delivered and what it takes to hit those shots. We'll slip into a very short break on that note, but come back on the other side because we have a very special chat with the way the World Cup has gone for the team, with the fans here in Adelaide and what they're expecting from the semi-final. Thank you to our guests for joining us.
So Vinayak, tell us what was the whole process? I mean, Surya practiced at this very ground for hours before he went to Australia. Take us through that entire process of what exactly happened during those hours of practice.
Actually, whenever he is in Mumbai and he's got no major commitments with MCA, he always enjoys coming to Gymkhana for a practice session, and we have always made sure he is very well facilitated with the practice conditions, variety of bowlers, and obviously whatever his demands are. So we made sure he is very well facilitated and all the needs for his practice requirements are taken care of.
Right. So there were some sessions of throwdowns and specific requirements which were met for Surya for him to bat on those Australian pitches. Could you elaborate some more on that?
Yeah, he always had his sidearm specialist coming along with him, and then he was always instructed in a certain way to bowl and change lengths.
Right.
So obviously he had his set of ideas how he will prepare.
Right.
And then again here the wickets are very well maintained and we always take good care of the ground.
Right.
And the facility was there, pitches were pretty helpful for bowlers and he enjoyed playing that pace, the side armour as well as different variety of bowlers
right.
who would turn up for the session, and I think that has helped him prepare very well.
Since you've known him for so long, how has his game developed? I mean, how has Surya as a batsman developed over the years?
I mean, I have seen him develop very closely because I was with BPC as well. He played a year of club cricket at our old club, Shivaji Park Youngsters as well together. Then he moved on. And then we joined Parse Gymkhana. I joined 9 years back. He is here for last 7 odd years. So I've seen his development from a player who would always hit square of the wicket.
Right.
But the major development, I did mention it to him in 2015-16 season when he had a very good season for Mumbai. I did mention him that you're playing the game down the ground very well. And he started driving efficiently down the ground and he started hitting the straight fields. And then he started hitting the straight fields in the air as well into the stands, and I think that's the major development which he has done in last few years, where in white ball cricket now he's got all the tactical aces with him.
Correct.
So he holds the aces and he's very smart in using it on and off. At times he hits behind, at times he hits straight field.
Right.
So he's been very calculative about it. And it depends on the conditions he is playing in.
Enjoy yourself and this wonderful group of people. These are the people that you read about. They are not the nicest people in the world, but they are brilliant financially. We're not going to see any great football stars in here, but we do see brilliant people. But but they're great people and very, very successful people, and they want what's good for the country, and that's why they're here. And I want to thank you all for being here. And again, to the media, thank you very much. Have a good time. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, everybody. This has been a very exciting night. We have some races that are hot and heavy, and we're all watching them here. And some of you like the music so much that you'd rather hear the music, and I understand that very well. So we're doing combinations of both. I'd like to welcome the fake news media, which is back there. There's a lot of people back there. That's incredible. That's a big group. They must be expecting something big tonight. Actually, they were hoping for big losses, but that's not happening. So the numbers have been amazing so far. Now, this is just up until this point. But as of this moment on endorsements, with the nominations, we had a total of 330 endorsements on nominations. This is only on nominations. This isn't for tonight. And of the 330, we won 200. We won 324. So if you think 224, and some of those were long shots, in all fairness. They were down in 5th place. We had a lot of people in 5th place that went to first, but it was 224 out of 330, and that's a pretty good number. And then tonight, because they kept saying, well, he's good on nominations, but is he good on the general election? So as of this moment, and we have some out there, we are 80 wins and 3 losses. Is that good? Wouldn't that be funny if we were better on the general election than the nominations themselves? So that's great. Now in North Carolina, just out, Ted Budd is now leading, doing great. He's leading 51-47. In Missouri, very good guy, Eric Schmidt is now up 55-43, and he's against a Bush, but a different Bush. It's called an Anheuser-Busch. That's a different Bush. You tell me which is the real Bush. In Ohio, J.D. Vance is now leading 52-47. And we had an incredible rally last night in Ohio. And you saw that in Florida, Marco Rubio, we had an unbelievable rally for Marco the night before with the heaviest rain I've ever been involved with. I was up there. It was beautiful, everything. This is the tropics, right, Florida? It was so beautiful. It was the most beautiful night. And all of a sudden, it turned deadly dark. And it was like you had massive pails of water that just fell on top of me. We went through the worst storm, but we gutted it out. I had no teleprompters. We had 45,000 people out there. We had no teleprompter. And I said, I wonder what Biden would do right now. But we gutted it out, and it was amazing. But Marco had a fantastic evening at 58-40.
Ahead of the big semi-final against England, I'm joined by some of the India fans who've collected here in Adelaide to watch the Indian team practice. And the fervor is clearly high. Sudhir is one of the super fans. Sudhir, अभी तक का वर्ल्ड कप आपको कैसा लगा? कैसा रहा इंडिया के लिए और आगे क्या होगा?
मुझे भी पूरी उम्मीद है जैसे 2007 में साउथ अफ्रीका के अगेंस्ट सारे जैसे जैसे चल रहा है और हम चाहते हैं टीम इंडिया से एक ही नम्र निवेदन है 2007 की जीत टीम इंडिया करे रिपीट बस
Do you feel confident India can do it again?
They're gonna do it 110%. I'm coming from US, and they will gonna do, and we're gonna win after 15 years again. Melbourne is India.
Yeah. Why do you feel confident that India can do? What have you liked so far?
the confidence of all the players, and they've maintained so far no injuries. So it's really good, looking good, really chance for them. And India can do it, and we can do it. And we're here to cheer them. India! India! India!
Who's your favorite player?
Virat Kohli?
Virat.
Yay!
Well, Virat is looking good in the matches and even in the practice sessions. I've got some ladies here as well. Are you enjoying how India have played so far?
Yeah, of course. And I'm really proud that Virat has got his form back.
Yeah.
And I'm really sure that they will win in Adelaide because Adelaide ground is Virat Kohli's favorite ground. So yeah, let's hope for the best and we'll definitely see India in finals in MCG.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a good performance by the Indian team so far. But the challenges have been very different with each match. By the time you get to the knockouts, the hope should always be that you worked out your chinks. There shouldn't be too many ifs and buts involved. Whether that is the case for the Indian team, frankly, no. But nothing like a knockout, nothing like a semi-final of a World Cup to really charge you up. And that's what Rohit Sharma would be hoping happens for the men in blue. It's time to bleed blue, as I've been doing in Adelaide with camera person Guneet. In Australia, Shivani Gupta, News 18.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you for joining us in this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. It is our national flower, the lotus. It was designated the national flower sometime in 1950 when there was no BJP. It is a symbol of purity. It's a symbol of hope in times of adversity. And as the Prime Minister put it, it is also a symbol for the entire world, which after emerging from the pandemic, an economic crisis and conflict all around, has the hope that it will emerge. That's why the 7 petals of the lotus hold the earth in our new G20 logo as India assumes its presidency. But it's also now become subject to politics, with the opposition, namely the Congress, saying the BJP is trying to appropriate the G20 also with a political agenda, and that's why the lotus, because the lotus eventually is also the election symbol of the BJP. Is this just trivializing politics and once again, in just for scoring a few political brownies or pot shots, compromising the interest, the larger interest of Bharat?
G20 में भी हमारा मंत्र है वन अर्थ।